Hello, my loves. I'm so excited that you are here because I am going to show you exactly how I plan out 365 days worth of social media content without a social content calendar. Hopefully, that is breathing somewhat of a sigh of relief out there, especially for those of you who have tried really hard to stick to those wonderfully designed plans on Trello or Notion board. And for whatever reason, you are still feeling really undone with it. You are still feeling extremely inconsistent. And maybe you're doing the Carrie Bradshaw thing where you're just staring at the cursor on the screen and nothing is coming through. So welcome to your most simple and profitable era of social media content yet. And you know what? It is 2026. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but here we are. I'm recording this at the end of February, right at the end. So we're about to hit March, the last month of Q1. It's moving fast. We knew that this year would. There's enough out there saying that this year would feel mega quick. And honestly, I think if you are still sitting there thinking to yourself, I don't know what to post, which a lot of you have said to me in some form, you're not alone, okay? We need to talk though. We need to really get our shit together for the rest of this year because we have big goals to hit. And I'm hearing way too many very smart, very experienced, wildly capable coaches, mentors, and service providers out there feeling very stuck with their content. And it's not because you're not good at it, and it's not because you don't care about it, and it's not because you don't have the results to share. A lot of you have so many incredible results to put out there, but it's likely because you've made it so overcomplicated and you are 100% comparing yourself, looking over the fences and seeing what everyone else is doing. And then you're realizing all of a sudden that you haven't done anything yourself. And there is nothing more frustrating than that. For the rest of you who are really good at making a plan, maybe too many plans, too many systems, too many rules, too many experts telling you that you need some color-coded board with 17 labels and 42 automations to just press post. No, okay? We need to talk. 2026 is not the year of complexity. That is not how you are going to be rewarded. That's not how you're going to feel rewarded. How you will feel successful and rewarded this year is strategy, clarity, and execution. So I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like from someone who is a very self-proclaimed type B millennial, i.e. I'm not very good with working off certain plans and needing to hit milestones every single day and sticking to big themes week on week. I want to share with you the philosophy that's kept me excited, that's kept me motivated, that's kept me in that creative flow of making content for you guys every single day, every single week on multiple different platforms. So I want to start with this. You do not need a complicated content ecosystem. If you have not already got this within the few minutes of being on this video, I want to share with you what you need instead. So there are actually three things, okay? So number one, I want you to grab your actual coaching or teaching framework, you know, the main signature framework that you use to provide your clients with a transformation. If you are a coach and you do not have a clear framework and you don't know what it is that you exactly teach on, we're going to have a very different conversation. So if that's already surprising to you, where I've asked you to go grab your key signature framework and you're just like, what, like, where do I get this from? We need to talk. We need to discuss what it is that you actually take your clients through. What is the process that you get them from A to B? If you are a service provider, what are the steps that you take internally to make sure that they are getting results? So that is probably a place that, you know, if you are feeling really stuck, I'm going to guess it's probably because you are not too clear on your framework. Maybe things have shifted, things have changed, but you don't want to sound like an AI bot, generic like everybody else. You want to work off your framework. You scroll Instagram, right? And you can see the same sort of messaging again and again. Those people are just using templates that are spat out through AI bots. And guess what? They may get a little bit of virality, but they're certainly not getting sales. what creates sales is knowing that you have a unique framework to work off, that you've got a proven results success template that your clients and your customers are going through. So we want to make sure that that sounds really on point to your message and who you are, as opposed to the same hooks and the same phrases that are put out there by hundreds and thousands of other coaches and service providers on a platform like Instagram and YouTube, etc. Okay. I really want you to have a defined viewpoint, and a framework forces you to think, but it also helps you to be that unique person online. It forces you to articulate your method. It forces you in some way to say, this is how I did it. This is how I help my clients do it. This is why it works. And this is why I believe in it. Without that, your content just kind of floats around and it becomes this generic motivation and this level of education that feels very same, like 5 tips to type of content. In 2026, generic does not convert, and it will not do your brand any favors. So if you want simple content, you first need to go into the depths of your method and go to your framework. Pull out what it is that is your unique angle. What makes your way of teaching things different to others? Why would somebody want to lean into you as a coach and a mentor? And most of that will come from method, your story, why it's landed you where you are. Every post can come back to your framework, but not so much like in a very kind of like vanilla way of, oh, this is my framework, and then giving them in this case, DAILY. That's too obvious. We want it to just feel like there's an anchor around what it is that you teach. Number 2, I want you to get yourself organized with your assets. I have 2 folders that I access every single day when it comes to creating content. The first folder is actually called Vibes. So Vibes is really where I put all of the photos and videos that I would love to share on Instagram or on my socials. So this may be videos of me living my best life by the beach. That might be videos of me and my family. It could be just more aesthetic videos where I'm having a coffee, I'm sitting down at my laptop. So have a folder that is already ready to go. The last thing you want to do is have to scroll through your photo feed just to find something nice to post. What a waste of time. The best way to also organize your folders is typically when I call this shallow work. So in flow state, there's deep work and shallow work. This is absolutely shallow work. You could almost have, a TV series running in the background. You could be chatting to your husband or your partner and they're cooking dinner. That is such a reality of mine. And I'm just like dumping photos into the Vibes folder in photos, right? The other folder that I have is called Testimonials and Social Proof. So these are screenshots of the wins that I'm experiencing in the business, whether it's my wins, whether it's testimonials I'm getting, but it's also screenshots of my clients doing the work. It could be case studies. It could be money that's coming through and dropping in through Stripe. It could be, depending on your niche, if you're going through a weight loss journey with a client, you could be looking at the before and afters. There are so many things that you could put into your testimonials folder that's going to be a lovely overlay to anything that you've got in the Vibes folder. Okay. So once again, if every time you're going to go post and you're scrolling through your camera roll for like 15 minutes to try and find something that you can share, I feel like you are going to either get sick of that, you're going to get bored of it, you're going to avoid posting, you're going to procrastinate, and you're basically going to say that, oh my God, like I'm just not inspired anymore. You have to take out all the friction from whatever it is that you are allowing yourself to keep falling into these bad habits around and make it easy. Again, it's 2026, so let's make things simple. And the more simple you make it, the more profitable your business will become. This isn't about feeling inspired. It's actually more about removing friction. And when you reduce the friction and you have folders and you have things organized, guess what? There's so much more flow state that's happening in and around your business, including creating content every single day. All right. So number 3, the thing that I really want you to look at is the way that you are delivering content. So I actually have another video, which I'll point you to towards the end of this video, itself, I want you to go watch this next about the 4 content styles that you can make. And these 4 content styles are the 4 content styles that I've used for the last, 15 months now. That's literally produced me income every single time I post. So it is an absolute no-brainer for you to think about what it is that we've already discussed around your methodology, what photos and content are already in your folders, what social proof you have, and then using the different content styles to keep your audience engaged and lent in. And that's it. Honestly, have your links ready, have your offers ready. I've got a ton of videos on my channel around how to create different offers. One of my most popular videos is how a $9 PDF made me $1,000, and it was just a Google Doc. The last video I made was all about how to make mini courses, and that's a little bit more advanced, but I know some of you are really ready for that. So definitely go and watch that also. But have offers that people are ready to say yes to. Make the quick win easy. I think a lot of you are trying to go from free content to the deep stuff, or free content to super high ticket. And then you start telling yourself content isn't working, or people aren't coming to your, other offers. It's because right now it's too big a leap. So we want to be able to create these bite-sized mini appetizers for your dream clients to lean into and go, you know what, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And the bottom line is not everybody is going to be ready at the same time. If someone is ready, let them move into your space. Your content becomes something that becomes that real open door, and definitely a place where you're inviting them in for chats with their own internal world. Where is it that they feel they can start shifting some things, or where they can feel like, you know what, even if this is a 1% change because I've watched Ruby's video today, I feel like I'm moving forward. That is a quick win. So if you're overwhelmed and content is starting to feel so, almost just avoidable right now, ask yourself these questions. Do I have a clear framework? Am I organized with social proof and the photos that I want to sell? And am I clear about the best way that I like to communicate with my clients and the content styles I want to show up in? As a bonus question, is it easy for people to go ahead and say yes to my stuff with small, hell yes, quick wins? If the answer is no to any of those, well, then that's your work. Not later. Now. You don't need to chase the next trend that's going viral on a reel. There's no point doing any of that if you're not laying the correct foundations. Now, before we go, I want to talk about planning. At the start of this video, I talked about how I plan 365 days worth of content and how I do it without a content plan. All of that is true. It's not just some sort of, little hook that I put out there. I am very type B. And what I mean by that is if you were to put a specific plan with a due date and a calendar in front of me and what I need to produce, it almost kills the inspiration. I do not get any joy out of ticking a to-do list worth of content milestones that I need to hit. I'm very much inspired by the life and business that I have built. So when I think about 365 days of content, I think about what is it today that I am feeling lit up by? So, if I receive a DM and it's a glowing testimonial about my work, just like this one here, I am going to use this as content. If I see Stripe payments coming in and I hear the ding, 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 and I look at that and I'm seeing, yes, this is what people are wanting to buy today from me. That is amazing. I'm going to use those Stripe payments as a basis for what I'm talking about. Also, I might have a coaching call, a mastermind call with my clients, and there's a hot topic of conversation. I want to bring that to life. I'm going to bring that to life in my content. So it's not to say that, whatever happens today goes out today, but it's enough for me to bank out for the whole week of, I talked about this with the mastermind on Tuesday, but because I've got so many cool things I want to talk about, it may not come out until Monday the following week, and that is totally fine. Now, I am millennial Ruby over here, so I do still have old school spreadsheets. I love a Google Sheet. I have a Google Sheet which I literally plan out and I collate all of my content ideas. I have my hooks. I have my angles that I want to hit. Any cool ideas that my clients are giving me, questions that I'm getting will go into this spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is highly linked. Guess where? to my methodology. My methodology is called Daily because I have a framework called the Daily Sales Method. So DAILY stands for something different that I teach inside of my masterminds. Now, I will always think if I've got a really cool idea, which part of the methodology does this link to? Does it link to intuitive offers? Does it link to leads and systems? So this way it feels connected. It feels intentional. And honestly, I think where a lot of people spiral is where they start to believe that they need to have this huge, beautifully done yearly plan on whatever you're using, a quarterly plan, a monthly plan, a weekly plan. If it has in the past worked for you, please keep doing what you're doing. But essentially, if it's not worked for you, it's probably why you've got this far in the video. You don't need that. What I need you to do instead is to get re-inspired by the day on day that you're living. If you're a coach, mentor, or service provider, more than likely you are the story. And if we go back to the old school, Gary Vee, who used to always say, you are the niche. I 100% want to remind you of that because it is so true. No content plan is going to trump your story, your experiences, your everyday interactions that you're having with your network, your community, and your clients. So I hope that this has inspired you and given you some ideas and permission. I will say where content plans are really powerful is on the days where you are literally drawing a blank. Earlier, I used the Carrie Bradshaw example, and the cursor is blinking and you've made 3 coffees and you've rearranged your desk and you put your candles out and you still haven't posted. I had a client of mine say the other day that she uses my 90-minute flow track, which is just a subliminal track that gets you into flow. And she says sometimes she'll sit there and she feels so productive, but then at the end of it, she's overthought the content she's made in that 90 minutes and she scraps the whole thing. So please don't do that. If you still haven't posted or if you're overthinking, that's when a plan like a spreadsheet is absolute gold because it removes the decision fatigue. There are days where I don't get DMs and I don't get Stripe notifications that are, fun to share, or I'm not that inspired by anything else that I had planned, but I'll go to my spreadsheet with all the angles and all the hooks that I'd put together when I was in a state of flow and creativity and inspiration. And that will spark something else for me, right? It keeps me moving rather than stuck. So here is my final say on this and my perspective for 2026 content. Have a loose yearly direction, but a strong focus on your methodology. So what I mean by that is you know what you're building, you know what you're known for, and you know what you teach that creates transformation. Then I want you to think about zoom out to the quarter. Maybe it's Q1 visibility. Maybe it's Q2 authority building. Maybe it is Q3 scaling one core offer and being known as the niche person to go to for that one core offer. Have a monthly intention. Think about what do we want to discuss this month that feels really linked to something that you're promoting? What is it that you're leading up to that you'd love people to get more involved with? This might be some sort of community membership that you're building. This might be a VIP day. So think a little bit ahead. And I feel like when you start doing that, your content will start to feel much more cohesive. If you are a spreadsheets person and you're amazing at researching and putting a ton of ideas into a spreadsheet or into your note sheet, but you are not posting, this is where sometimes we can fall into this belief that planning feels productive, but it's often avoidance. So if you feel like you've been hiding in your planning mode, I say this with so much love, press post already, okay? Messy is better than being silent and busy behind the scenes with no one knowing it. In 2026, the advantage goes to the person who is willing to be seen, not the person with the most tabs open and the highest, most researched case studies that you'll never ever put out there. Your simple content strategy is going to move you forward. Know your framework, organize your proof, understand how you best communicate what type of content styles to use, and be clear on what you're selling. Enough said about this. I hope this has inspired you. If you got this far through the video, please let me know by hitting the like button. I know it's such a small ask, but it's a big deal in my world. It's a big deal in the YouTube world. It goes such a long, long way. And of course, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I answer every single one myself. All right. I'll see you over in the next video where we're going to talk about the 4 different content styles that would change the game in terms of how you show up and how you sell online. See you there.